All right. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the Legacy Project. We are here with Tamara Lee. She is a women's money coach here in Asheville. And we are so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you.
I am very excited to be here. And it's on Valentine's Day. So as you can see, I wore a lot of red in honor of love and relationships like money in the world today.
Ooh, I love how you talk about money as a relationship. Let's start there because that's where you are in life right now. So how did this whole process come about where you talk about money as one of the relationships in your life? And apropos, Valentine's Day, when you texted me today, I was like, oh, I guess I should wear a Valentine's-ish color. So,
well, when we talk about relationships, that makes me go back to when I was a young 26-year-old woman. And I ended up having to file for Chapter 13 bankruptcy at that very, very, very young age. Due to circumstances where I was trying to invest in myself, I was trying to do a business. I wasn't in the right timing for it. I didn't know what I didn't know. I tried the best I could. And at the end of the day, it landed me with a boot on my car as I went to try to go get out, and then they towed it. And so the only way I could get my car back in that moment in time was, what are my options? And bankruptcy was the easiest, quickest, and at that time, very cheapest option. So never thought at age 26 I'd be going through a bankruptcy, but I did. And to get discharged out of the bankruptcy, both then and now, you have to go to a money management course of some type that says, okay, you attended our budgeting, money management. Now you are blessed and you can be released out of your bankruptcy. So back in Austin, Texas, I went to the Consumer Credit Counseling Service of, Travis County, and that's where I attended. Fast forward, age 26, jump here to Asheville, probably 15 years later. I start working for On Track Financial Education and Counseling here in 2011, and I become a financial educator there. And as one of my roles as the financial educator, I was the one who taught the bankruptcy discharge class.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So everybody's sitting in that chair, everybody's looking very panicked, and I was like, I got you. I know exactly what you're going through because I've done it before. And so we're going to let go of the shame and the blame of whatever the bankruptcy did. And we're just going to do what we need to do to move through this class, which immediately sets everyone at ease.
Yeah.
So it's been quite the journey between age 26 then and where we are right now at age 53. I've just been on that journey ever since. And so I always say money chose me. I did not choose it.
Wow. Yeah. And that's where the legacy piece of all this comes in. Your whole life has been built towards where you are right now. And I was lucky enough to take one of your money workshops. You spoke to our investor group a few months ago. And you're just someone that's been on my radar. I love your social media. So that legacy piece of you're in it right now, you're building it, you're part of it, but looking at your past and how it's kind of been tickling and been a part of your life all this way leading to now, right?
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So after On Track, what made you think, okay, I want to go out on my own and serve the women of Asheville?
Yeah. Well, so one of the roles at On Track for those 10 years that I was there was I was the Women's Financial Empowerment Center coordinator, which meant I traveled around all through Western North Carolina, and I worked and helped deliver financial education to underserved communities of specifically women, some of the safe places, disadvantaged places, but then also held a lot of the Women in Money conferences that we would hold annually, or a Women in Money mic night where women would come up to a mic, tell their money story in amongst 70 other women, and really get to honor what each person has gone through. Or I had a Women in Wine kind of club where we met weekly for 6 weeks. So in that experience, I was delivering so many workshops that right around, 2017, I was like, I love what I'm doing. I love helping women, but I feel like there's still something else that I'm supposed to do. And that's where I found Layla Martin, who just happened to be, I'm going to call her a sex witch. And I started following her because I just loved the stuff that she shared. She was kind of like a young Dr. Ruth Westheimer was of the 80s.
Okay.
She was just cool and hip. Anyway, I just loved how openly she talked about love, relationships, sexuality, sensuality. So I started following her until she developed a 1-year-long certification course to get certified as a sex, love, and relationship coach, and then teaches you how to build a business from it. And I was like, there I go. That's what I want to go learn. I want to really learn more about this area of my life that's, I'm single, and it has eluded me in some of the areas. But she also had areas that we could go deeper in, and money was one of her little other shoots that I could go into and learn more. So I came out of this 1 year long certification having a very somatically trained experience with her as my teacher. So I was able to really take a lot of those teachings, and then that's where I was able to start launching my own business with being a money coach, and then the experience that I had through On Track, teaching thousands of women over 10 years. And then also able to blend that sensory experience of the somatic body into money coaching, where I see is so lacking in all of the things that we're seeing today, as far as like, if you do this, then this will happen. And it's great, but if you're not taking the nervous system into account for the things around money as a relationship, you're dropping the ball a little bit. So,
well, when we started with the workshop, we did getting into the body, and I've done it twice with you now, where you talk about the woman in the cave, right? Or
keep
maybe
going. No, those are your words, honey.
Okay.
Keep going.
So you talk about your future self, right? And
Yes.
where are you, and you're wealthy, and what's happening.
Yeah.
And both of my visions were different.
Yeah.
Similar, but different. But just the experience of going through and a guided, vision.
Yeah.
Thinking about money in a playful way, but in just as a whole being. I mean, really, like you say, money is a relationship in your life. And it felt warm, and it felt, wow, what can money do for us? What can money unlock? It's not about the money itself. At least for me, that's how I think of it.
Yeah.
So that was powerful to just it's not the paper, it's not the credit cards, right? It's like how it makes us feel. And when we're doing things that our body likes, and that's with work, that way, you're doing the right work, then of course that leads to the right money, I guess. So that was a powerful experience. My woman's holding a green, gem, all this. So I think that's just a different way to think about money. Of how do you feel about it? How do you think about it? How does your body feel when you're talking about it? And I mean, I know both of us, and some of the work we do, just having conversations about money, periods. I mean, a lot of my friends don't want to talk about money.
Yeah.
A lot of women don't want to talk about money.
Yeah.
Am I being greedy? Am I being this? So how do you help women with that aspect of being okay with just talking about it, starting a conversation with friends and family? I mean, I just think that we need to be having a lot more conversations about wealth building. I mean, why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we think about this from like a historical perspective, and we know that we live in a patriarchal society, I will just also say that if we go back to our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-great-grandmothers, we really go back through a lineage of an experience around women and money. It's not too far back that we can really go where only women back in the 1980s couldn't even get a credit card without their husband.
80s.
My personal lineage is I have a great-great-grandmother that literally was pimped out by her husband to make money for the family. So now we're talking about in the 1920s, the 1930s, right? And so she was having children. She had a husband. She didn't have access to her own form of wealth or capital. So within just a couple of generations, now here I am in a very different position, given many more opportunities than she ever had available to her. But ancestral speaking, like we can just see how it bleeds through the generations. And so knowing we're in a patriarchy and knowing how we've all been brought up, and even from our mothers, they did the best they could, but they had their own money story. And of course, it was never spoken of. The only thing my mother ever talked to me about money was how to balance a checkbook. And age 15, she sat me down and she said, Tamara, I'm going to teach you how to balance a checkbook. You need to know how to do this. And I was like, oh, a 15-year-old teenager, like, right, sure, mom. Well, she taught me how to do it. And I have balanced either a debit register, whatever you want to call it, to this day. It's such an ingrained experience for me, so I can't not do it anymore. Mm-hmm. But that was the one element that my mother taught me. And beyond that, there was nothing about how to manage money, how to handle with stress around money. I mean, most of us did not get that experience within our caretakers. Mm-hmm. They were all coming from their own unique money stories. And so when you really think of them from individuals doing the best they could and nobody talking about it, it's not too surprising to find out why we have this very confusing relationship with money. And then on top of it, because nobody talks about it, just like sex, we keep it on the down low, we hide it, we pretend like everything's fine, right? But we can't speak about it, because then we'll be found out that, oh Jesus, we didn't do something right, or we used money wrong, or honestly, we don't even like money because we don't even know how to get money. So we look at it through all these different lenses. And the fact of the matter is, money is emotional. Money is energy, and money is regenerative, just like creativity. It is literally like in the air with us here right now, based on how we think, how we feel, how we sense about it. But most of us aren't attuned to thinking of money in that way. So when I talk about your money life or your relationship to money, just like you, I'll often get sort of like a, huh? Like, what do you mean relationship to money? It's a thing. And I'm like, it's not a thing. It's a feeling. Yeah. How do you feel about money?
Yeah.
Is a very deep question. And it'll tell me a lot about a client by asking them that. So when you ask me, how do I help them? We start by identifying that those are aspects of money. It's not this thing to get. It's more of how has it been in their life? How do they relate to money? Do they talk to it? Do they spend time with it? Do they hate it? And that will help guide us into whatever tool we need to use, or kind of the next step.
So with that year-long certification, sex, money, and what was the third?
Sex, love, and relationships.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So with your clients, I mean, it's funny to think, people categorize, right? And compartmentalize. Oh, money's over here, sex is over here. But I'm sure you're talking about all of that with them, right?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about, I mean, when you're in a relationship, you're spending money on that relationship, so it's so interconnected. And it feels like money is always shoved and compartmentalized and, put it in the closet, whatever.
Yeah.
So you're bringing to light, and by your conversations with them, getting them comfortable seeing how it's all integrated, really, right?
Yeah. One of the phrases that's just fun to use is, how you do money is how you do everything. And if you think about it, we're all in some way, shape, or form, again, no shade here, but we can be pretty abusive to our relationship with money as far as how we treat it. And I'll just give a quick example. We love payday. We literally love payday, whatever form that's in, whether you're a business owner or an employee, but that day that money shows up in the account, there's a feel of relief, or like, oh my God, I get to go do something. Oh my God, I can go out for dinner, or whatever it is. There's this like joy. And then it starts to like seep out and it leaves. And depending upon the individual, how quickly the underneath part sets in of, well, great. Now where did you go? Now you're not there anymore. Now I have to wait another X amount of time before you're there again. And so I speak to you pretty bad. I treat you pretty bad. I kind of kick you to the curb. I'm kind of a bully to you if I think about it. Like, money, let's get in a fist fight. So one minute I'm hugging you and I'm like, God, I love ya. And then the next minute I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, if we looked at a like love relationship that way, it wouldn't go so well. And yet that's how a lot of us are treating our relationship with money, like a bully or an abusive relationship.
Oh my gosh. So true. So true. You brought up the lineage and the generational kind of stories about money and what you've been taught and passed down. I mean, that is so crucial to kind of this project that we're doing here with this show. We have to look backwards, but then definitely have to look forward. So thinking about, yes, in your own family, talking about money differently, but I immediately just go to Asheville, right? And think about a city's relationship with money, right? I mean, there's controversy there. And what about what women are paid? What about all of that piece too? Because like you said, we're still in the patriarchy. And I don't know if you saw Bill Maher's response to the Barbie movie, but he said it's over and the patriarchy solved and everything's fine. And so, I think maybe we haven't talked about this yet, but I think you and I probably share that we have to have that happen more because we are still in the patriarchy. Women have to keep having these conversations because 2 generations from now, maybe, we don't have children, right? But there's other ways to make an impact and be part of all this. So what if 2 generations from now, there's not women in Asheville struggling with getting a loan?
Yeah.
Or, just anything that is tied to money. That's what excites me, thinking, wow, the impact that we're trying to make and all the work that you do, what's that legacy leaving for Asheville?
Yeah.
That's exciting, right? I mean, and you're talking to hundreds of women every year. I mean, easily. So that those interactions you're having, that workshop I did, every time you speak, to me, that is part of the legacy you're leaving, right? Like, I'm going to remember that. That is a memory you created, you facilitated. It's an insight, whatever it is, the aha moments. I mean, I just think how powerful and wonderful that is if we can all just keep making those positive impacts on each other. And it's just beautiful, I think, as a community.
Well, I was taught a long time ago about a concept when it comes to actually relationships, and it's called the power of one. And specifically, it was being talked about in a love partnership, how, everybody goes through highs and lows in a relationship, but the power of one, meaning one person can change the dynamic if they choose to change themselves or how they're relating to their partner. And they can have that influence on another partner by just beginning to change themselves, oftentimes good or bad. I'll just say that. And so when I'm hearing you share what you just shared, what I'm thinking of is the power of one, which is I can control me. I can control what I want to do. And what I can do in my daily work is, throw a pebble in a pond and it's going to ripple to my client. What happens beyond my client, I don't know what's going to happen. But what I'm going to hope happens is that it ripples beyond them. And if they're a mother or an aunt or a friend or a colleague or a businesswoman, there's something that's going to catch with them. And that's going to disperse out as well, right? And so then she creates a little puddle pond, and then my other client creates a puddle pond, and I speak from somebody, right? And if we think about how all of us are really doing that, collectively speaking, I know our world gets a pretty bad rap on how things are because we're very much a negativity biased society, right? Negativity sells. Let's look at the bad shit. We understand that, but there is so much good happening, like on the minor level, like the daily level, where we're having conversations like this, and this is going to be seen by other people, and then that's going to be shared, right? And so I always just like to look at the work I do and what others do as just like the ripples and how it just ripples out over time.
Yeah, and that's my heart. Part of the reason I started this is thinking super hyper local. I used to want to, be a best-selling author and all these, not saying that some of those things aren't still true, but seeing the actual impact. I think that's probably what's so powerful with your work. And I know from firsthand experience, but having those real one-on-ones or small group interactions, and we go to a lot of the same networking events and get uplifted from those. But I don't know, my heart's just wanting the most I can do for Asheville. And a lot of your work is in person. I'm sure, you do stuff online too, but you can't help it that something about being in person and digging in with people and being in the room and having the energy. We were just at a sales workshop together the other day, and that there's something special still about being in a room with, especially like I'm really into this just kind of smaller groups right now. So tell us some of the different ways that you serve. I know you have an upcoming workshop with a colleague, right?
No, a good colleague friend of mine and another somatic practitioner. Her name is Beth Clayton. And she teaches both body alchemy. She also has her own coaching masterminds where she works with highly sensitive women. And she really brings in this beautiful work around, again, the body, the nervous system. So we partnered and collabed last fall where I came into her mastermind cohort and taught a lot of my money workshop to her folks. And we just really hit it off. So we said, let's collab again. And so we're going to deliver on Friday, kind of smashing up her work with mine called Born Wild, breaking the good girl rules around time, money, and energy. And so she's going to kind of deliver her first hour and a half of a workshop. Then I'm going to share my money workshop and do some more money archetypes and some more guided visualization around money. And then we're going to open it up in the afternoon to do open one-on-one coaching. So we're both just super excited, and we got a lot of folks signed up, and more people can get signed up until tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Oh,
So that's just
fabulous.
fun to get to do that with her for the first time.
Yeah.
And then I deliver my own either in-person or online workshops. And then I work with my clients on the one-to-one over the course of the 6 months, where we can really take this work deeper and really start to shift some of those behaviors that aren't really serving them, and help them to see, which I think you were alluding to earlier, sort of that future vision of self that really does want to be the one that feels connected to money and a friend to money, and have that help them in their life and their business.
Yeah. Awesome. So you like the variety, one-on-one, small group, online, all the things.
Yeah.
As you're looking ahead to this year and just, you know, as you're continuing to build, what else are you looking to mix in or wanting to focus on? Anything in the works that?
I mean, nothing as to speak in the works, other than just more of what I'm currently already doing. I'm happy that we're out of the pandemic, because like you were saying, I'm loving being in person too. And I'm finding such a gratitude for it that we took for granted, because we didn't know what we didn't know.
Yes.
And then we all went silent in our homes for 2 to 3 years and had that experience. And now we're, coming back out. And so to me, it's such more a treasure to be with people in person. So if I could say, like, what am I really focused on this year? It's absolutely more in person. So either it's workshops, it's local talks, it's just being around more small groups of women, and delivering a lot of these conversations and helping women to have these conversations. When I was working at On Track for those 10 years, working in the community of Western North Carolina, I just started thinking of myself as, this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to serve and help this Western North Carolina area. So in my mind, I just think, well, I'm the money coach of Western North Carolina. I mean, that's what I've been doing for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what I do now. So it's just this persona of that's who I am. And that's how I'm best serving, at least for these next couple of years. I just want this type of work to really become normalized. And I feel like I'm the one that can help do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know until I met you, if I'd met someone that calls himself a money coach in person. You see stuff online, of course, but yeah, I think you were my first person, that has that title. I love it. Okay. So you talked about 26-year-old Tamara, and then where you are now from that experience. Jump 30 years, jump the other direction.
Yeah.
And, looking back at this moment in time in 2024, what do you think that wise older woman's going to say to you or think about you right now?
Well, I love this exercise because I started practicing this exercise with myself maybe 10 years ago, where I would actually ask, okay, what is 70-year-old or 75-year-old version Tamara? What does she want and need right then? And what can she tell me today, Tamara? And so I started playing with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And the more I play with it, the easier it gets. But, still, oh, magic ball, what does this look like? I guess I always want to come back to, how do I want to feel as that 80-year-old? And I want to feel full as far as how I spent these last 30 years. I want to feel full. I want to feel like I had so many experiences of just being with these people, whatever that looks like, and having these memories of being in and amongst these places where this is what we're starting to talk about. Like when we think of legacy, I left a legacy at On Track after being there for 10 years. And so I felt really good about that. And so I think when we're in the legacy, it starts to kind of evolve itself as we're in our business. And so I'm entering my 4th year of business. So still somewhat new in the business world itself. But I would say for my legacy at that age, looking back at me now, I just want to be looking back at me being like, you took the risks, you did the uncomfortable, you did the hard, you weren't afraid to do it. When I learned how to become a certified money archetype, it was not lost on me that of the 8 different money archetypes, I happen to be a maverick.
Me too.
Maverick to maverick. So mavericks like to take risks.
Yeah.
And before I knew that about myself, I would have labeled myself something very different than a maverick. I would have said something very negative to myself, like, well, you fucked that up. Sorry, you didn't learn, or, you screwed that was a bad call. And now I can look back at my life and I go, oh no, that's just been my maverick. So when I think of 80-year-old Tamara looking back and be like, girl, you mavericked it out. That's what I want to be thinking,
Oh my
because,
gosh.
you know, she's going to be looking back going like, you used to ride your motorcycle in the mountains, because I love my motorcycle. Like, you went horse ride, like you took adventures. Like, I want that heart of mine and my 80-year-old self to just be really, really full.
Oh, I love that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And like you said, when sometimes looking back, we're like, oh, we were just so hard on ourselves. And so learning as soon as you can, like now, today, to be more gentle with yourself. And just thinking about burnout, right? Because with that, money and burnout to me go together, because, you know, people are grinding and grinding and grinding.
Yeah.
And 80-year-old us won't be happy with that, right? That needs to stop now.
Yeah.
And my therapist this week was talking about just having that really built-in time. When you've got a big thing, you got a big event, you got a big conversation, whatever it is, big meeting, you really have to take the time before, after, week before,
Yeah.
So like slowing down a little.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what that's how I felt in your workshop, where we're slowing down and talking about money. Man, money's always this frantic thing and this stressful thing. And it's like, okay, breathe and slow down a little bit. And yeah.
Well, breathe and slow down. Just the concept of women making money at any level. I mean, that is like butting up against the patriarchy. When we slow down, that's butting up against the patriarchy. When we honor ourselves that we are our own assets, that's butting up against the patriarchy. When we create our own set of rules of how to run our world and our business, that is breaking up against the patriarchy. So time and time again, you know, it does require all of those pieces, and we are in a hustle culture. Let's be very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
And as women with multiple roles and multiple hats that are being worn for various reasons, again, you know, one of the reasons Beth and I decided to do this workshop around the good girl rules is because, you know, there has never been a good girl who has changed the world, because it's just not possible for her, quite honestly, right? If you think of all the women who have changed the world, you know, in their time when they were there, whether it was Madame Curie, you know, Oprah doing what she's doing by not getting married to Stedman, right? Oh boy, that was a big one. But when you look at all of them, they broke the rules in whatever they were doing. And they were very different, and they were shunned a lot of times until they weren't shunned later on, right? But that's the land that we live in right now. So when we begin to just really truly honor what this self says, then that is the only guide. And I think that's one of my biggest lessons of business so far is self-trust. And I didn't have that so much for the first 3 years, but I really practiced it last year, and I have it as solid as it's ever been in me right now. And that self-trust really also helps me guide and say, we're not going to do this to push ourselves to burnout. That's not what we're doing. We're going to do it because Tamara, 80-year-old, wants to look back and still have some, you know, nervous system to her, right? She wants to feel like she's got some energy behind her. She doesn't want to look back and go, look what I did, and now I'm so tired, or whatever she's going to say, right? I'm like, there's a thing called grace and ease, and that is what I'm looking to do to build my business over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean I'm not going to get stressed and have some, you know, busy times. It just means practicing the flow of the grace and ease is the lane that I choose to want to play in.
Yeah. And the self-trust piece, because I've completely noticed your journey and, you know, showing up more videos, just showing up. And that piece, when you start, because I feel like I'm really in that same kind of process, there is less stress. Mm-hmm. There's less fear. There's less anxiety because you're kind of saying, and I've been through enough. You've been through enough that we can trust ourselves at this point.
Yeah.
And it's okay. You don't have to over research. You don't have to over ask for a bunch of opinions and, you know, stress and toil over every little decision, because there's a lot of wisdom in here, and and it's innate. There's wisdom from generations past that we don't even understand fully. Right. So really just relying on the self is such great advice, because it brings a slowness. You know, you're not so frantic and looking out. Yeah. There's really something inward.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I like to play with things like you were saying, going 30 years ahead. And then also we all have an inner child. Let me just bring in the inner child here real quickly when it comes to money. Is that what I have found to be true is most adults are actually using and treating money from a place that is akin to a younger version of themselves who didn't quite get their needs met when they got it met, right? And so it might be an inner teenager that gets super ragey and angsty that's happening inside of us that says, I want to go buy this now, and I want that iPhone now, and I want this now. And then, oh my God, I'm going to not like money because look what I just did. I just spent it, but now, right? So anyway, I work a lot with my clients around inner child to help them really understand that what they're doing today is based on a younger version of them that is still very pointed and fixed and is just kind of come along with them into an adult, but it's really this little one who has some thoughts and feelings and does not want to be responsible for money, nor should they be responsible for money. So they're struggling and they're acting out. And that's a lot of that shame and blame that we talk about. But when I look back at just a younger version of me for fun, sometimes I'll look at her and go, she's cheering me on the right now, Tamara, because, I have my lovely fluffy puppy. I live in beautiful mountains. I work for myself. And, she's looking at me and she's like, you're going to go for a motorcycle ride. That's awesome. Because, we used to watch the old 1970s movies like Smokey and the Bandit. And we thought that was super cool. So a lot of times
I love it.
She's looking at me and she's like, you're killing it. 53-year-old Tamara, like you're amazing. Like you have everything that I could ever. You draw like you're a wizardess and a dragon goddess. And she's like, yeah. And then there's the 80-year-old version up in there and she's just like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah.
You can see them too.
You can see them. Oh, I can see them very clearly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting. Just made me think like the whole shoulder, the devil and the angel thing. But instead, we would probably serve ourselves much better just having that little inner child, but awareness of that. Don't let it be in charge because the inner child should not be in charge. And really, neither should but I love that almost thinking anyway. That just struck me as the angel, the devil, but in a totally different way. Love it. So I want to make sure I mention you were just featured in WNC Business. Yes. So how was that experience? And we're both probably, we're both on that train of like, let's do more PR and outreach because when you feel this has been a huge mind shift for me, when you're serving, it really doesn't feel like work. It truly, because you just want to keep serving and you see these wonderful like results that happen. So got off tangent on that, but bring it back to that you were just featured and highlighted, which made me smile.
Yeah, no, it made me smile very much too. So thank you for also seeing it and acknowledging it. And, I would just say that last year, my word of the year was connection. And that was my guide for all last year. And it's still working its guide through this year.
Totally.
But I mean, all that was me going out and doing things that I enjoy. So whether that was a chamber event, but whether that was a mega networking event, maybe that was a smart series, or maybe that was an in-person workshop that somebody else delivered. I mean, it really is just about being curious and then really being attuned to just people that you notice you're naturally making connections to. And when those connections happen, whether it's with somebody that's an editor of a magazine or another person that writes, I invite a lot of people that I connect with to just have virtual coffees with me because I really think they're interesting. I'm like, I just really like whatever our interaction was, and I can feel the connection in my moment. And I will follow up and I'll say, can we just have a coffee or something? Because I really just want to pick your brain on what you do. And that curiosity, that kind of, call it a beginner mindset, right, really just helps lead the show. And so when it comes to being in that publication, that's all that was. That was literally just meeting a person out at an event, having a conversation with them, talking about what they do, being really interested in maybe where I could advertise or be with that, making offers, just saying like, hey, if you're ever looking for a contributing writer and you're looking for information, like I'd be happy to help with that. Yeah. So again, it's being seen, it's showing up, it's just letting people know how you can help them. And then the next thing you know, it shows up for itself.
Yeah. So connection was last year's word. Do you want to share this year's word?
This year it's bold expansion.
Ooh.
Two words, but together.
Yeah. It's a phrase. It's a phrase. Mine's thrive.
Okay.
Tired of striving.
Mm.
Really been doing too much
Yes.
striving. So it just, that shift feels really nice. Yeah. Okay. What else do I want to make sure I cover with you? Anything else exciting? So you got the workshop Friday.
Yep.
Yay.
Yep.
Yay. Are you anything else on the calendar for 2024 that we should know about yet?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I will just be doing more collaborations in person. I have other people that are asking me to want to collab on workshops. So my plan is just to be delivering a workshop a month, whether it's online or in person locally here. And again, what I love about collaboration is it opens up their audience, and we share that feedback. So it's really just helping each other grow naturally. And it's quite honestly, it's more fun to do it with another person than being behind the desk at my office all by myself all the time. So it's a little bit of a selfishness about wanting to collaborate with other people. But I mean, when we collab, we get so much energy working that, it's just more fun. Oh,
it's so exciting. And we're definitely going to talk about different workshops and collaborations we can do here out of the space. So if any women watching or any women that watch, couple little tips, tricks, mindset, something they should check out, anything that they could walk away with to feel like they learned something from you today.
Well, so there's one thing I will ask my clients at the end of every session. I will just say, what are you most grateful for in your life right now?
Ooh.
And I know we've all heard about the gratitude practice, and the gratitude practice is not meant to be drilled down and practiced or not practiced, but it really does help us come back to the moment and really see around us what is actually working really well. So that is one thing that I practice for myself, and I practice with my clients every day in every single session we do. I would say the second thing I love practicing with my clients is simply just pausing, stopping, and breathing. Breath is the biggest support we have, and we have to do nothing in order to have it happen. It happens to us. So in those days when we're busy, it's literally just reminders to stop and just breathe. If it's 3 counts, if you want to do box breathing, almost like you're drawing a box, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, however you want to do it. But that's a slow down mechanism, and it also honors the nervous system. So gratitude, breath work, and really just thinking of money as a relationship. And one of the most fun homework assignments I love to give people is
everyone.
Homework.
Here we go.
Home play.
Yay.
I'll call it a home play.
Yeah.
Is if you want to know and really understand where your relationship with money is to actually write a letter to Dear Money. Ooh. And write it to Dear Money as if you were writing it to a human, and how you would write to them or speak to them or say to them. And you can let it all out. You can let out the good, the bad, the ugly about money. It's a place to be super honest. Share the things that frustrate you, that scare you, that are hard, whatever it is. But then let that be a beginning place for you to recognize how you're actually in relationship with money. And again, we can't change anything if we don't have an awareness of it. And this is a really good awareness practice to just get very clear on how we're actually treating money.
So how do you go about that? Dear Money, because people, what happens? Here's the anger, here's the but then they'll polish it up, even though it's just for them. You can't say the nice things about money only. You really have to, I would think, go through the whole journey, right? And let it all out there. And
so if you had a piece of paper in your hand right now, and you wrote Dear Money, what's the first thing that would come out?
You make me mad sometimes.
There you go.
See, and that's negative, I know, but
no. Yeah. No, I don't care. I'm not labeling anything.
No, right.
You make me mad sometimes. Then what would you say?
But I love you. I mean, I think those two would go together pretty quick for me.
Okay, you make me angry sometimes, but I love you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just doing that process. It's being really honest. It's just saying I like you on payday, and then you're out of my life within a day and a half. What the heck? Right? Or I don't like you because, I was never taught about you, or you make me feel really bad because I just feel like I don't know what to do with you. Yeah. And I feel stupid and I feel vulnerable and nobody ever told me what to do with you. It's literally just like if you were with a friend and you were frustrated, or if you were having a fight or an argument, how you communicate with someone else. That's what the letter is, just helping us to understand. Because guess what? None of us can see in other people's brains, but I know enough humans that I know we're all basically going through and saying the same things to ourselves that everybody else is saying. And so we're not really that different. And that's the funniest part. We're really probably much more similar than we are different. And if we had bubbles above everybody's head, all of our bubbles would be saying pretty much the same thing. It's not hard to figure out.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're trying to take the bubbles and put them on the paper so we can actually see it.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful moments I had with a client in the last few months was they were able to actually speak out loud something that was only in their head for a while. And I had him say it 3 different times in 3 different ways so he could really hear himself actually say it. And then when we finished saying it, I said, how do you feel after saying that? And he was like, I just like hearing myself say that. I just even feel different. I feel different just hearing my words come out of my mouth. Like it's like a whole different experience. Like I've never said it like that before. And again, that's why sometimes we can think a lot of stuff, but if we're not speaking it, if we're not writing it, then it just swims up here and it kind of lies and it hides and doesn't really tell the truth. But when we say it, it's using another part of our body to just like claim that statement even more powerfully. So sometimes it is, coming at it from a different angle by just speaking it or writing it.
I mean, yeah, I'd say everybody write a Dear Money letter. 1 page, I would think at least to get in there a little bit. But
I don't know. Some of us can go.
No rules, I guess. I think that's really powerful. I think everybody should go do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that tonight before our investor meeting tomorrow. Okay. Get ready, get the mindset. I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It was wonderful. Where should they check you out? Where should they find you?
Yeah. So my website, www.tamaralee.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok with the handle @TamaraLeeCoaching. And if you're looking to find out about Born Wild, head on over to my Instagram and the link is in the bio to get registered for this Friday.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.